Question 3. Engineer X is a project engineer to a project contracted to Y company owned by Mr. Z. Mr. Z tells Engineer X that he is ordering a latest model of an electronic gadget for his company staff, and he can get a set for Engineer X at the company discount price. Engineer X agrees and pays on delivery. The question is, did Engineer X breach the Eng-aim regulations on professional conduct, which state that this is the responsibility of engineers to give the highest regard to his professions and conduct himself with integrity when executing his tasks? You are asked to discuss this statement in detail within the context of Malaysian environment. For you to answer this question, you need to understand the situations. Engineer X is a project engineer. He has a project contracted to company Y, where Mr. Z is the owner. Mr. Z here offers a discounted product to pay on delivery. Mr. Z here offers a discounted product to Engineer X, where Engineer X will pay on delivery. Now the question is, did engineer breach the professional conduct of an engineer? Given that the Code of Professional Conduct states it is the responsibility of every engineer to give the highest regard of his professions and conduct himself with integrity when executing his tasks. You are asked to discuss this. First, we might need to look into the definitions or interpretations of some terminology. First, we talk about a discounted price offered by Mr. Z to Engineer X. We know that discounted price is meant for the staff of the company Y. Now you might need to define this discounted price. I guess we are certain that the discounted price it will be less than the market price. Now the question is between the price whether it is equal to the cost price or it is equal to the cost price minus the price paid by the company X or Mr. Z. These two scenarios may be different by definitions of whether the company Y or Mr. Z is paying the price. And then the other focus that we might need to put into is the term that the highest regard to his professions and conduct. Now the definitions of highest is to which extent? Does it mean that no tolerance at all? Or the highest is solely meant for the executions of the task only? These two leads to a question that whether the case offered by Mr. Z here has any associations with the task conducted by Engineer X as the project engineer. You might need to define the electrical gadget, whether it is the merchandise of the company Y or some forms of token of appreciations to the staff of Mr. Z. You might need to look into also the motive, whether Mr. Z offering this deal to Engineer X with the intentions of in exchange or favor of some professional responsibility delivered by Engineer X. These are some suggested solutions. First, you should only receive remunerations from the employer or any other form of reward and gift from the employer alone. Theoretically, Engineer X is not supposed to accept directly or indirectly any remunerations other than the employer unless being authorized by the employer. In this case, Mr. Z obviously is not the employer of Engineer X. Second, Engineer X is not in the position of accepting the discount rate, as this rate is meant for the privilege of the employee of company Y. He might need to check the motive and intentions of Mr. Z, whether to seek ease in return while discharging his professional responsibility. While discharging the professional responsibility, Engineer X needs to maintain his professionalism over his personal emotions, favor, and preference. He will need to maintain his high integrity while executing tasks, maintain high professional ethics, high competence, and always seek for the best solutions to the best interests of all parties. Accepting such an offer may affect the efficiency of the instructions while discharge his duty. If that is the case, Engineer X will need to think twice before accepting the offer. He will need to uphold his professionalism while discharging his duty, regardless whether the offer has been given or not given to him. Such incidents should not affect his professionalism, and if possible, try to avoid putting himself in such awkward situations of having conflict of interest, as this can affect his reputations. These are the potential impacts of accepting the offer. It will encourage such culture in the industry. It can affect personal reputations and integrity of the professions, and in long term, it will affect your personal professional prospects. And again, for these questions, if you could give some examples of the relevant experience, your commitments and course of actions, and also your final outcome. You may need to also outline the impacts and implications of non-compliance of the professional conduct at the broader context.